Hi, my name is Dr. Amelia Kelly, and I'm the VP of Speech Technology at Soapbox Labs. I'm really happy to be here today at VOICE22 to talk to you a little bit about child speech technology, child voice tech, and the importance of making sure that it's safe, accurate, and equitable. That means bias-free. I'm going to talk to you about a few of the measures we take in Soapbox Labs to ensure that. So a little bit about myself to start. I've been in the voice industry for about 15 years now. I'm a Fulbright scholar. I have a PhD and a master's from Trinity College in Dublin in speech technology and linguistics. For the past 8 years, I've led the team at Soapbox, a team of engineers, scientists, and linguists in building the world's most accurate speech technology for children. So why do kids need different speech technology for adults? One of the reasons, of course, is that kids are smaller. The audio signal that comes from a child's voice is very different from the audio signal of an adult's voice. And the reasons are physiological, really. The vocal folds of a child are much smaller. The vocal tract is shorter and narrower. And the resonance chambers of the mouth, for example, are much smaller in a child. This accentuates the higher frequencies. It puts a lot of the energy in the upper regions, in the upper frequency bands of the speech signal. And that makes it just very, very different from adult speech technology. When you build speech recognition models and products, you need an awful lot of data. And if you are just using adult data and then hoping that it accurately recognizes child data, you're going to be sorely disappointed. Another reason that voice tech is very difficult for children is that their language patterns are different. So moving away from the speech signal itself, moving on to the actual content, linguistic content of what they're saying, it's different again for kids. They're unpredictable. They pause in odd places, they shout, they whisper, they pronounce things slightly differently depending on what age they are and what stage of language acquisition that they're in. They make sometimes systematic grammatical errors, but sometimes completely unpredictable grammatical errors. They make up words, they elongate words. It's very, very difficult to predict what a child is going to say. They context switch a lot. So it's a real challenge for speech recognition products to keep up with what they're saying. Of course, children don't behave the same as adults when dealing with technology. Most children these days are digital natives. I think that most adults had to get used to having a home assistant that was voice activated. I think that we all speak a little differently to it in order to make ourselves understood. Kids, not so much. I have my own experience of my child trying to speak to a home assistant, and every time I give a talk, lots of people tell me their own anecdotes about their children interacting with voice technology and how their behavior styles are just so different from adults. It makes it very, very hard for the system to understand what the kids are saying when they aren't making it easy to be understood. Also, children need voice tech in very noisy environments. They use it in the classroom. They use it in the kitchen with the dinner going and the kettle boiling. They have TVs on in the background. These are really real world conditions, and speech technology for kids is useless unless it works in these real life conditions. And finally, of course, the privacy and safety aspects of dealing with child data is just so sensitive and so important. Children's voice data needs to be protected and needs to be treated with respect. Anyone building voice products using child voice data and building products that children are going to use need to be absolutely 100% on their game when it comes to regulations, when it comes to COPPA, FERPA, GDPR, and the safety of the data and what you do with the data, how you process it, and the reasons you have for processing it are all very, very important. I think more and more people, especially who are using technology, child speech technology in the education space, are very, very reluctant to, for example, hand over child data to a multinational company whose business model is more tuned towards advertising than actually making the product better. So Soapbox is a business-to-business company. We partner with our clients who are all building out unique, beautiful UI, UX education platforms for use by teachers, students that are just really imaginative and wonderful. They are the ones with pedagogy experience. They're the ones with the beautiful UI, UX experience. What our experience is in engineering and it's in speech. And within the company, we have a combined 150 years plus of speech expertise. We focus on what we're good at, and that's building technology that accurately recognizes and transcribes child speech. And we want to surface useful data points. So we partner with our clients to find out exactly what they need from our technology. And from doing this, we found that for child speech, what we need is to go beyond just the audio file transcript. So we built the Soapbox engine. So it works in a few different ways. It can work off the shelf to enable our clients use cases like math assessment and practice, early literacy exercises like recognizing alphabet letters or saying the sounds that letters make. So phonics or letter sounds, decoding and segmenting words, sight words or custom words, nonsense words even. And for all these different use cases, we've had to build our engine or add on a feature to our engine to enable it. So, for example, an off-the-shelf speech recognizer wouldn't recognize a nonsense word or a made-up word that you constructed in order to test whether a child is able to do segmentation or decoding correctly. Our engine has features that allows you to, on the fly, recognize any sequence of phonemes that you want. Our engine also allows you to search for multiple words or phrases in a child's spoken answer. So you can automate reading comprehension questions, multiple choice. You can enable voice search. We also, of course, offer custom transcription and analysis solutions for structured and unstructured spontaneous speech. Also, just for fluency reading and practice. So we use our knowledge of child speech and reading patterns to build bespoke systems for these use cases. So they're entirely tuned to our clients' needs and the texts that our clients are using with the kids or the recall or comprehension situations that they're using as well. We also assess right down to the phoneme level, which is something that other speech engines don't do. Soapbox Fluency is it's a very important product for us. We think it's a real game changer for the education community. It's our solution for oral reading fluency practice and assessment. And if a child is reading a passage, for example, our system will analyze what they said and compare it to the passage of text. So we can return information to the teacher then, or the student themselves, or a parent, depending on how our client has built out their product suite. And it will return information about whether a child read a word correctly or whether they had substitutions, deletions, insertions, they repeated themselves or corrected something that they said. Our system is able to do that on a word or indicate that on a word by word basis and then return information about all that collated so that the teacher over time can see if the student is progressing in their reading or if they're having systematic trouble in particular words or phrases or even individual speech sounds. That all becomes clear very quickly. The reason that we do this and the feedback we've had from it is that it saves so much time for the teacher. The teacher can track when a student is practicing reading and also see how they got on during that reading attempt. It also takes the stage fright away from children if they feel like they're being assessed when they sit down one-to-one with the teacher. If they're practicing more and more and there's an automatic running record of how they're progressing, that is very important for the child, but also very important for the teacher. If a teacher has to sit down with every child for 10 minutes a day in a class of 30 students, that can quickly add up to most of the school day. Having technology like this to take the admin away allows for the teacher to do what they do best, and that's to teach, and to teach where they're needed, and intervene when it's necessary and when it's appropriate. Educational platforms that use voice AI to assess pronunciation, reading fluency, literacy. At Soapbox, we really believe they've the potential to transform the literacy landscape. We think it can make literacy education accessible to all and allow them to practice more freely and without one-on-one teacher supervision. However, without removing the teacher from the loop at all, because the teacher can always look in and see how they're getting on. This frees up the teacher's time then, so they can focus on this one-to-one instruction where it's most needed. The thing is that these systems all rely on accurate and equitable voice AI. Most off-the-shelf adult voice AI is very poor on child speech. Sometimes it can be like 5 times higher error rates than that of on child speech than on adult speech. However, the Soapbox engine, on the other hand, it performs on a par with human assessors. So we encourage independent validation of our system. There have been studies done by Amplify, Metametrics, Imagine Learning. They've all found correlations of between 96 and 99% between the Soapbox engine and human graders. So it's very, very important that the system is very, very accurate, but not just for a small group. It needs to be accurate for everyone. Another major problem with most voice systems is bias. A biased voice system can amplify and it can propagate deep-seated prejudices, be they explicit or unintended. And the effects of such bias in speech recognition technology, in the context, of course, of educational assessment, it can be disastrous, absolutely disastrous. Everybody in the voice community is aware of the Stanford study that came out maybe a couple of years ago now, where they compared all the major voice systems on Black conversational speech versus white conversational speech. They found the error rates for Black speech to be almost twice as high as that of the white speech. This can be absolutely disastrous for kids. If you look at the study, you'll find that even when they were reading the same sentence, when they were reading the same sentence and exhibiting the same vernacular, using the same vocabulary, even the systems weren't able to deal with the audio file. They weren't able to process audio file of Black speech the same way as they were of white speech. And this is just, I think there was, I think it really, really made everybody in the speech community really look at their systems and make sure that they're not biased. If a biased system, for example, fails to understand a child's accent or dialect, it might end up telling that child that they're a poor reader when in fact they're a very good reader. It could do the other way around. It might tell them that they're reading fine when actually they're making some mistakes that need to be corrected. An unbiased system, on the other hand, will offer fair, uncompromised information, and this will help the edtech providers to feed back to the child and to teach them. At Soapbox, we take bias very seriously, and we understand that as a creator of AI technology, it's incumbent upon everybody in the organization to ensure that we're creating equitable technology and products. We regularly publish about the inherent dangers of AI and the need to be careful when building technology that's used by children in an educational setting. And we address bias at all levels of our product and technology, from data processing to model building to product design and evaluation. So our data set, to our knowledge, our data collection is one of the largest proprietary child speech data sets in the world. It's constantly growing. It features speech from hundreds of thousands of individual children from almost every country in the world, engaged in reading and speaking activities in real-life noisy environments. When we build models, we select from this data set very carefully. We have to make sure that we have a representative balance of speech sounds, but also that we've included vocabulary from different accents and dialects. We have the actual audio recordings of these different accents and dialects of children of different ages, different races, ethnicities, and different native language. We update our models regularly. We include newer and more representative data so that we can refine it so it works better in real world situations. And of course, we take the utmost care in ensuring that our models are equitable and free from bias, but also that our products that are free from bias as well, so that we can offer products that offer a fair and level playing field for all stakeholders. So we do things like we employ design thinking to help us best empathize with our clients, and we also liaise with them quite frequently. We identify lighthouse clients for every new feature release, and we talk to them about what they're seeing in the classroom, why these are useful, what may be more useful than something else. And also we make sure that every data point we surface is something that the teacher can take or leave. If they decide that it's not relevant for them or they don't want to trust it, they can absolutely do that. At Soapbox, we, as I said, work on the engineering and the speech side of things. And then we let the teacher take that information as another piece of information that they can use to make their decision about teaching that child. And that's what we want to do at Soapbox, just to give data points and deliver product features that are functional and useful. And this is why we go beyond just a transcription of an audio file, because in educational settings, teachers need so much more information, and they can use so much more information. It can be so helpful to them. So we're always talking to teachers, talking to our clients, and finding out what it is they need and what it is that we can offer them and what data points we can surface that can help them in their educational environments. When we build our models and we test, we don't always have demographic information on client data, for example. So we have to make sure that we commission it, that we get it from real world situations, that it's accurate and representative, and then we use it for testing. So we test different accent groups, we test different dialects, we test different noise conditions. We make sure that our speech works for our kids from all walks of life. We want to eliminate bias in our product from the ground up. It's very, very important to us. And at Soapbox, we're now working on an equity framework, which we'll hopefully be publishing within the next year, that will showcase all the steps that we're doing from model building to evaluation to make sure that there's no bias within our product and that it works equitably and accurately and safely for all children. So I hope I've given you some insight into the importance of racial equity, designing for racial equity in AI, and at Soapbox, how we build out our underlying technology so our clients can continue to level the playing field with regards equity in their voice-enabled platforms and products. It's been my pleasure to speak with you here today at VOICE22. If anybody has any questions, please don't hesitate to email us at hello@soapboxlabs.com. And we'll be happy to answer any questions you have. Thank you very much.